let's get into it. So I wasn't exactly planning to do this video, but last Wednesday, so about like 5 days ago, I was walking home in downtown LA, and I got assaulted essentially. Some dude came up with his skateboard. This is a longboard, this is my longboard, but he had a shortboard, and he basically bashed me in the face. So I'm really lucky that it was actually not as bad as it could have been. My face, I don't know, you can't really tell, but it's a little bit swollen still. My nose, the scab fell off yesterday. My cut under my eyebrow is kind of hitting because it's under my eyebrow. Bruises on my shoulder, but again, that was crazy. Very unexpected, very jarring, primarily because it was, unprovoked. I had stopped in the corner to take a picture of a really pretty sight. I'm very much like a kind of guy who likes to stop and smell the roses, so stopped to take a pretty picture of the city and the neighborhood that I live in, and this dude basically took it upon himself to attack someone doing nothing. So that's really sad. I think the really important thing to take out of this is life can throw you curveballs. Not can, it will. And something that I've learned throughout my journey is that everything has opposites, right? So you've got your highs and your lows, and you're going to get both of them and everything in between. And I think for me it was really, really challenging because, and it's only a few days after, so I'm still processing this, and I'm grateful and fortunate to have a therapist and a great network of friends to talk about it with. But being able to share with you, I guess, what I've been going through for the past few days and how I've reflected on it, and how relating to trauma, how you can potentially take some of these learnings from my experience and apply them to your life. So trauma in general, obviously getting attacked and hit in the face is very traumatic, but a lot of different things are traumatic in your life, whether it be a breakup, loss of a job, loss of a loved one, a pet dying, a car accident, variety of trauma. Trauma is here and always will be, right? But a big part of how I've grown and am still growing is learning how to not suppress that down and not just like move on and get over it, because that's definitely a tendency. I think of a lot of people, because when you feel the feels don't always feel that great. And I think especially this experience was jarring because I do feel like I've been riding a high for quite some time. I'm very fortunate and grateful to feel like I'm riding a high. A lot of positives going on in my life. And this was obviously not part of the equation. So it was very disorienting. And so the biggest thing I want to tell you is, number one, don't suppress your feelings. Not a good thing. This is going to be a process of you really needing to sit down and take time, like dedicate time to yourself, or with a close loved one or a therapist. I think there's both. I think they're both important. But sitting alone by yourself and just like processing what happened. I mean, for myself, like for days, even now, like the incident keeps like, I can feel the board hitting my face, and it's like, I see the imagery playing over and over again in my head, and the feeling of blood rushing down my face over my clothes. But really sitting with that and feeling all the feelings that come up with that. And for me, it was, like a lot of anger, a lot of why me, like how did this happen, which aren't, I guess, really feelings, but basically like feelings of sadness, feelings of confusion, feelings of fear in a way, because this happened like 2 blocks away from where I live, so it felt like very close to home, which can be jarring. And really being able to sit down with those and feel it and truly feel it, and sit with them as long as possible. I mean, I'm reading a variety of books right now that are great, where it's essentially, the skill is essentially like invite your emotions in, but they're guests, like they're not here to stay, which kind of moves me to my next topic. So after you feel the feels, cool, like we're feeling the feels, like what do we do, right? So the feels are only here they're just visiting. That's the point. Like they're not supposed to get suppressed. You're not supposed to hold on to them. Ideally, you do not identify with them. So what you do is when you're feeling those feels, after you kind of have had your time with them, a great skill that I like to do, I'm a big writer. I like to journal. Sometimes, it depends. Sometimes journaling can feel like a chore. But once you get into it and just start kind of free flowing, which is a great exercise, like not thinking too much about it and just writing out and describing how you feel, describing like perhaps writing a letter to the person, not mailing it, never mail it, but basically like I wrote a letter, or like I just wrote a narrative about how I felt like towards this guy, because I kept wanting to have the opportunity to fight back, to defend myself, to not feel so helpless. And so I wrote a bunch of pages just about how I was feeling, and also committing in those journals to not hold on to this. When you learn more about emotions and how when they are kept in your body and in your mind and suppressed, they tend to kind of create other problems elsewhere. It's kind of the idea of when you sweep a problem under the rug, it's just going to become a bigger lump in the rug, and it's going to come out eventually, and usually not in its original location, essentially, if that makes sense. Maybe that's not the best analogy, but so for me, it's really important to really focus on those emotions and process them, acknowledge them, and be really kind to yourself. Like this whole thing has really taught me a reminder to like slow down and just be kind to myself. I definitely have been on this vulnerability journey for a few years now. Thanks, Brene Brown. And this though for me is like a new kind of vulnerability, because for me, talking about my life, let's say being on YouTube, being vulnerable in the sense of exposing myself and having opinions, it doesn't bother me. What was truly uncomfortable for me is being vulnerable in the sense of allowing my friends and coworkers, who are a lot of them are actually my friends now, be there for me and come out to support me, to come by my home, to give me a gift basket. Thank you so much. It meant the world to me just to feel all of that loving energy coming my way, but it also felt so uncomfortable, and kind of like the idea of letting go and not turning into a total hermit and trying to do this on your own. Super punk rock, like totally into the independent vibes, like I can do anything on my own, but you don't have to do everything on your own. And a lot of times when you do a lot of things on your own, you kind of get off balance and you get into your head a lot. And so it's really important. Moving to the next subject is community, and making sure that you allow your friends and family to reach out to you, to be there for you, to talk to you. I didn't feel like talking about it a million times, like retelling the story, but I noticed that the more I did, like the better I felt, because I was just getting it out. And I think more emotions and comments and things I've been processing would come out verbally that were kind of just stewing around, and probably not giving me any perks or benefits. I do have anxiety, and it's managed, and I've learned a lot of skills that I hope in other videos to share with you. But being kind to yourself, like self-compassion, hardcore. When any kind of trauma happens, allow people to be there for yourself, or for you, and then be there for yourself as well. So our favorite topic, self-care, right? Self-care is so important right now. Any kind of trauma that happens, so you really want to be able to, after you, let's say, have felt the feels, and this also, feeling the feels is not going to happen just in one sitting. It's going to be multiple. And I genuinely feel like I'm going to be processing this for probably weeks, months, whatever. Hopefully not like years, but you get what I'm saying. Tuning into the self-care. So I knew I would feel comfortable going home down to my mom's house. She came and picked me up that night, like around 1 a.m. I was out way earlier. Just the whole process with the police and the paramedics took like a few hours, which is kind of crazy. Side note, thank you to the first responders who came out to help me. You guys were awesome and so kind, and just caring, and I really, really appreciate it. You kept me really calm in a time where I could have just been spinning and like losing my mind, basically. So making like a list, and this is also good to have before trauma happens. It's obviously hard when you're experiencing trauma or have to think like, okay, what do I really enjoy? Like what self-care would bring me like total calm, and ground me. So for me, like going back to mom's house is always a good thing. It's in the suburbs. I live in the city. I love the city, but it can be hectic, especially after trauma. And so it's nice to go down to the suburbs. I have my bike down there. I love to ride around the neighborhood. It's very nostalgic and comforting. And it's also just, being around home. So if you don't have that, you can do the same with, your chosen family, with the people that you have, that feel comfortable with, that feel like family. Like, don't be afraid to ask to like sleep over, or to come to their house to hang out or to have dinner. Like, it's really important. Other things for me, sleep is really important to me. I got that 8-hour gene where I need 8 hours of sleep. And so it was super important for me to be not only around people, but also make sure that I had some alone time and some time to rest and take naps and really listen to my body and be able to recognize when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, when I'm like overly anxious or irritable, like basically just being really mindful of like being in your body and aware of like, how are you doing? The other thing I really like doing is I love taking baths. I love taking baths. Like, people may knock them, be like, baths are for kids, but like, don't knock until you tried it. I want to do a video about just taking baths and like how they're very spa-like and therapeutic at home, and how you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. So I like to just chill and listen to really chill music, and just relax and really let your body just like kind of ease all of that tension out with like Epsom salts and essential oils and stuff. And then the other thing is laughing. Like, I was like, I need to put on some good shows. I need to put on a good movie, and I just need to laugh. Like, I don't want anything sad and dramatic, like, which can be very tempting. I started listening to like, my good old rock classics, like some Marilyn Manson, some Good Charlotte, like AFI. I love AFI. And then the Madden Bros are my like total celebrity crush. But you can get really sucked into that, and it does feel good to feel those. They help you bring out that anger and that sadness, and in a way process it. But I then noticed I was getting a little too sad, almost like wallowing in my misery. No joke, which is an awesome song by Good Charlotte. But so I just kind of switched it up. Like, I know that I'm very affected about the energy in my environment and the music that I put on. So I decided to switch it up, and I have this playlist I made called like Love, Joy, and something like that. It's like a feel good, it's upbeat, it's still very deep and emotional, but it's like about love and like good feelings and happiness and like really liking life. So I switched that up and made sure that I was kind of focusing on those areas, and so it really did help me out. So I would say, before trauma or anything happens, like, maybe be proactive about it. Like, are you aware of your self-care needs, like your priorities when shit hits the fan? Like, what are your top 5 that are going to make you feel really grounded and calm and pampered? Like, you want to make yourself feel pampered. Also, for me, cooking nice meals. Nice can be just nice as in very simple, like comforting foods. Like, I love like spaghetti and just things that are really comforting and not so much bad for you, because you want to keep your your health up. You don't want to eat a bunch of junk food too much. You can have it, but don't overwhelm your body with it. But essentially, make your list of things that make you feel comforted and grounded. The other thing that's really important to keep in mind is making sure that you really just kind of, at least for me, it was committing. And this was in the last video, but like, I've got too much good stuff going on, and like everyone does, if you actually sit down and write it out. Like, what are you grateful for in your life? There's a lot of stuff you can be grateful for. You just might have to actually sit down and think about it and remember like how much good stuff you have going for you. And I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm gonna let this mess with my vibe. Absolutely not. I was like, fuck no, this is not happening. I'm going to acknowledge the low. I'm going to ride this wave, but like, I am not going to sit around wallowing. That's going to be a big theme on this channel, is like your commitment to yourself, to allowing yourself to feel joy, to process, to move on. Like, I allow myself to release the past. Obviously, like all of the memories and the flashbacks of like it happening are very traumatic, and they'll probably never go away, but eventually the emotions will detach from the memory, and I won't be like as triggered with anxiety like thinking about them. And really committing to yourself. Like, I was like, dude, I am not going to let this bum me out. It does suck. I am not gonna lie, it sucks. My face still hurts, I'm swollen, I've missed work. I mean, it's just like, prioritize yourself, of course, but yeah, it sucks. Like, nobody wants this to happen. The other big thing is mindfulness tactics and just being able to help yourself when you do feel anxious. So, really nice breath work. So like breathing in for like 8 seconds, holding it for 2 or 3 seconds, and releasing it for like 10. I think it's 5, 2, and 8, whatever. Don't quote me on that. We'll do another video on that. But basically are doing things like that ground yourself, like, tapping into your 5 senses, like what can I touch that's around me, like the remote control, the pillows, can I look at them and describe how they look, does something near you have a smell, like an orange? So basically like grounding yourself and like resetting yourself so that your heart rate goes down and you chill out a little bit more. So that's like a really important part of it as well. And really the last part is like your perspective. Like this does not mean this is a sign from the universe that something like you're off track. This is genuinely like, depends on the trauma you experience. But for me, I was worried like, what the hell? Like, can I not be happy for 5 minutes? Is that not allowed? But I really just like meditated on it and I was like, it's just like a fluke thing. Like, you know, the world is crazy. Kind of close this video out is the world is a crazy place right now. And I think the media prioritizes the negativity. And so I personally don't watch the news. I read about world events, so I know what's going on and whatnot, but I don't watch any of that stuff, especially local news. It's gross. I live in LA. It's too negative. And you don't want to absorb that. But basically, my perspective on this was like, I not only visualized like being angry with this dude and like actually defending myself, but I also visualized him, and you're gonna think I'm crazy. I visualized myself giving him a hug. And that actually made me feel better than picturing myself beating him up, because I'm not the type, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I can defend myself for sure, but there's nothing comes of like returned violence. It's absolutely ridiculous, violence in general. So my main point being, that to me was a profound visualization that I didn't expect that I would have. It just kind of like happened in my head while I was like, you know, meditating basically with my eyes closed. And I think the world is so crazy right now. The reason I wanted to share this, because I feel like some of these tips are probably a little all over the place, but this is just kind of my train of thought for how I've experienced this week, is there's enough hate and low vibrational energy in this world. There's enough darkness in this world to go around many times over, but I do feel like there's more love and light and high vibrational energy that people it just isn't as highlighted as much. And I do think more people than you think are actually more loving than you actually give them credit for. And so my challenge to everyone is basically share love and do not feed into negativity wherever it is. Redirect it into positivity. You know, smile at someone, give someone a friendly compliment, especially a stranger or a good friend. It doesn't matter who it is. It could truly kind of change and correct the course of their day. Like, I don't know this guy's deal. I don't know, but he's clearly consumed with anger and a variety of emotions that he's not processing. And I do feel for him. It's really strange. It's definitely a form of empathy that I'm channeling. But the best thing you can do is just be a good person to everyone around you and share your love, because it might actually be the one thing that really changes their day for the better or changes their week or their month for the course. So this is pretty much what I wanted to tell you. I'm feeling fine. I'm okay. I am probably more mentally needing to recover from this than physically. I'm healing quite well, which is nice. I'm really grateful. I didn't get hit with the trucks or anything like that. I have a really big spiky mask. I should have shown you guys, but it helped distribute the blow. I sent the woman who made it a really nice message, just because, like, you know, it's my favorite mask and it really saved my face. So I'm so grateful this actually wasn't worse. It could have been, which is actually a scarier thought. And I'm trying not to think about what could have happened, because it didn't. It's not a reality. I'm trying to stay present and just focus on like loving myself, making sure that I'm taking care of these emotions, that they don't get bogged down and like manifest in some weird way, like in months or years from now. And just moving on with my life. Like, I'm not gonna let this fuck up my day, my life, more than it already has. So love you guys. Comment below any advice that you have for your friends here on the Self-Care Punk channel of how you guys like to self-care when it comes to trauma. It could be anything, but really share the love. This whole comment feed, by the way, is all about sharing love. Like, it should all be positive, ideally. We want to uplift everyone. So in the vein of this video, take care of each other. It's so important right now. The world is truly out of its mind. The most important thing we can do is take care of each other. So thank you for watching. Like this video if you like the vibe. I hope you come back for more content. I'm hoping eventually to start posting weekly. I've got a lot of ideas, and subscribe to this channel to check out all that content. So take care, everyone. Much love, and I'll see you around.